growing up, quite a few years ago, I read something about the American dream. And it was a beautiful slogan. And up until 50, 60, when I was a kid, that held true. But somehow over the last maybe 10, 20 years, that American dream kind of faded away. I don't know why, but the American dream or the Canadian dream, whichever way you want to look at, the concept of politics changed with the media and with public opinion poll. Now you're told what you're thinking, because some people will contact about 1,000 people and it will make a ruling. Well, this is how the population thinks. Well, 95% of the population doesn't think. They go along with the flow. So what does public opinion poll tell you? Not a heck of a lot. Yeah. But coming back to the American dream, and I remember, back in the 50s, 60s, we had family shows on TV. Coming back to the 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000, we started having destruction on TV. The family values as a result of that has deteriorated. But not only that, we're talking about why the international and what happened in 9/11. Why did that happen? Well, we trained those people to TV for the last 20 years. What do you expect? And I'm not talking about the James Bond movie when I was a teenager, but I'm talking what happened the last 10, 20 years. And I think that until we have a grasp of returning back to television, returning back to radio, and reinstating the family values, that we're heading for trouble. And unless those guys down there realize that, and they're there today, I don't think they don't work on weekends, or sometimes they do, but not very often, as I understand it. And sometimes it doesn't even work during the week. But until they realize what the problem is and what the court system and CPS, as well as CA has done in my country, until they start to rope those people in and hold them accountable, we're going to have problems. Here's a book, and in that book, the author is the former dean of Windsor Law School. He says how much the American Canadian can afford, how many average Canadian can afford justice? And his answer was none. Because if you're making about $25,000, which is about the natural average when this book was written, you don't qualify for legal aid and you can't afford the lawyers, so you have to represent yourself. Now, if you're fighting against somebody that's below that level and they have legal aid, then you're heading for a major problem, because you're fighting against the lawyer and you're fighting against the corrupted judicial system. I've been there, not because of my personal problem, but because I like to take government's course. And I act on my own behalf. I went to the Supreme Court of Canada once on seeking leave to appeal from a court decision. There were 3 judges on his divisional court. 2 of them ruled against me on the assumption that they had jurisdiction. The third one said we also have jurisdiction, but they agreed with 2 others. Well, if he doesn't have jurisdiction, why didn't he shut up? His point was off. So on the basis of the assumption, I sought leave to appeal to Ontario Court of Appeal. That my leave was denied without reason. And because it was an exercise of discretion, at that point in time, the Supreme Court of Canada said, we don't interfere with judicial discretion. So whether it was right or wrong, whether my right was breached or not, I was judged up. So what's happened of the offshore is there was a few cases came after me. One was that there was in fact one of the cases was that before you could exercise your discretion, you had to establish your jurisdiction. But before, that's for one condition. The second condition was, before you exercise that discretion, you got to look at all the relevant factors. Now, the other case that came along was that part of the reason why they decided not to rule on my case was because of Crown prerogative, and you don't have that in the state, but we have it because we come from Britain. Not me, of course, I'm from France, but some of my people are, some of the other Canadians are. At one time we're from Britain, now we're all over the world. But we inherited the British system that means nothing in Canada. The Magna Carta Bill, the British Bill of Rights that falls under our Constitution, I followed that for years. And it's been completely disregarded. In the United States, what I like is about your president. He's got veto powers. And sometimes he's smart enough to exercise it. We have the same thing in the Queen's Representative in Canada. But the lawyer said that it doesn't exist anymore. But that's not what the courts are saying. But that's what the courts are implying now. But that's not what the previous decisions are saying. So what they couldn't achieve in 1931, they achieved it in successive years because of system, because of the lawyers in the court. Now, I've talked a fair bit, and I spent 55 years as a political activist, and I spent 45 years fighting the court judicial system. And it's very hard to put it in a nutshell what I've done over the years. But when I listened to you guys speaking yesterday and today, a lot of what you're saying brought back some memories of where I was.
What's his name?
In closing, I would like to make a few points.
You don't know? Oh, what's he talking
I've never been married. I wasn't in a pure relationship. But the thing that I was married to was my cause. And that was a heck of an example and lost my relationship. But what I found was that, and all my relationships, there were no children involved. And I have no biological children. But I've been involved with a number of children over the years. And I worked for Ontario Housing, which is subsidized housing, in the 70s. In the 80s, I worked for the University Branch, which held all licensing for day nursery daycare centers in Ontario. And I learned a lot when I was in both those positions about cheating of children. And when I come and speak before you guys, I got no access to grind with you or with any of you, except that I want to provide shoulder to your problem, because I've seen firsthand what can happen when false allegations are raised, and damage that does to the child as well. Some of the children that I've been involved, not directly involved, but as a result of my involvement with other children. Some of them at 14, 15, 16 died of drug overdose, and those were not drugged by CPS. Those were self-addictive drugs because they couldn't cope with it, and they chose the easy way out. Not that they intended to commit suicide, but because nature of the force tried to find the void, they tried to fill the void. That was the result of the problem that we're facing today. And unless those people behind me start doing something about it, you're going to have a lot more. And we have a heck of a problem with natives in Canada committing suicide, let alone the other people. But it's rampant among the native. And those people are in despair, so is a lot of children. So it's a lot of children that are in despair with TPS and TAS. And let's stand together and make a difference. Thank you.